Yo, what is going on, investors? Welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, I'm going to do my monthly breakdown of institutional ownership for SoFi stock. It's been a hard go for SoFi stock over the last few months and the last few years, but I always like to track institutional ownership and see the trajectory of who's buying, who's selling at the institutional level. We're going to go over May's, June's, and July's numbers so we can compare these 3 months and see where SoFi sits today. We're also going to go over insider percentage and the general public percentage. We're going to go over each and every one of these categories today, so make sure you stick around for the video. Let's get into it. Alright, SoFi investors, the stock's trading around $6.30 right now. It dropped down all the way to $6.16. It's up about 2.5% from that low around $6.15, $6.16 that it touched today. It's been tough sledding for SoFi investors. I mean, there's no other way around it. But the last time sentiment was this bad, when SoFi was trading in that $4-ish range and went on a nice run to that $10, $11, $12 range, which is like a triple up in your money from that $4 range. If we get back to $11, $12, it would be a double up from here. We'll have to see what earnings are looking like in the next few weeks when they are released. I'm really interested to see what Anthony Noto is going to say about the institutional investor that sold out of all their shares. I'm going to break that down for you guys right now. All right, let's get into this institutional ownership. All right, everyone, we're going to first start off with the recent insider transactions for this past month in June. We see this monster sell, over $134 million worth of SoFi stock, almost 20 million shares, as you can see right here. Qatar Investment Authority sold out of their entire SoFi position on the 12th. Anthony Noto then went on to buy 30,000 shares, a considerable drop in the bucket, but it does show that Noto wants to, show good sentiment for the stock. Around $200,000 worth, 30,715 shares, but a drop in the bucket compared to the nearly 20 million shares dumped on the market by Qatar Investment Authority. Over the past, year or so, Anthony Noto has been the only real individual insider buying these shares, which is not great. Here's the current ownership breakdown. Individual insiders now own 1.75%, about 18.5 million shares. Institutions own 40.5%, coming in a little over 428 million shares. And the general public has ballooned up to 57.7%, over 609 million shares of SoFi stock, right? I'm going to compare month over month to June and July in a moment, but I just want to take a look at the top shareholders and see who's buying and selling. This chart, it can be a little misleading because if they fall under this 0.3%, the top, I think it's like 15 or 20 holders of SoFi stock, you're not going to see the total sell-off. There's only one of the top holders that sold out a lot of their position, minus 75% for Two Sigma Investments, and then obviously Qatar Investment Authority sold out 19.8 million shares, but you don't see that on this top 25 shareholders chart because they completely sold out of their position. They're no longer a top 25 shareholder for SoFi stock, right? These 25 shareholders own about 31% of the company. It is good to see that Vanguard and BlackRock and State Street Global are continuing to buy shares. Morgan Stanley considerably increased their position, 46%. Citadel, another big institutional investor, added 160% to their investment. So that's really good. These are some big time numbers adding to their position, which is always good. Northern Trust Global Investments sold out about 7% of their position. Patient Capital Management sold out 0.5%. Dimension Fund Advisors sold out 7%, and then Wells Fargo added about 14%. All right, my SoFi investors, I made a little visual chart for us to check out the SoFi institutional ownership percentage, right? So the lighter the color, the earlier the time frame. Back in May, institutions owned 39.8% of the shares, and then in June, it ballooned up to 42.5%. 449 million shares, and then in July we came back down to 40.5%, 428 million shares. Now we're going to move on to the general public. Back in May, 54.2%, in June 55.7%, and then in July 57.7%. Back in May, it was 572 million, 588 million, and then we crossed 600 million, up to 609 million shares owned by the general public. That number continues to balloon and balloon, which for me, I don't necessarily love. I want to see institutional ownership continue to creep up. One of the main reasons we've seen that drop off from 42.5% to 40.5% over the last month is because Qatar Investment Authority sold around 20 million shares. But if you break down the math, we're still down 1.4 million institutional investor share ownership, even if you take out the 20 million shares that Qatar Investment Authority sold last month. So that upward momentum that we've been seeing over the past few months actually ended this past month. We're down 1.4 million shares if you take out the Qatar Investment Authority selling out of all their shares. So we ticked down a little bit. Now, when I report the numbers next month, we'll see if institutions are going to start to buy a little more after the earnings report comes out. Because that's when I tend to see more institutional owners buy, is right after the numbers come out for earnings. So if Anthony Noto and SoFi knock the numbers out of the park, we're probably going to see this number tick back up into that 42, 43% range, back around 450 million shares owned by institutions. I know this is the news you didn't really want to hear, but I'm here to keep it 100% real, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I want you to be prepared and understand what's actually going on at the institutional level, how the general public is viewing SoFi. They're continuing to add. We went from 54% to 55% to 57.7% over the last 3 months. And then the insiders went from 1.7 to 1.72 to 1.75%. We're not seeing a ton of insiders buying the stock, which is another, not necessarily a red flag, but something we need to know about moving forward. All right, guys, I hope you like these kind of updates. If you do, please consider hitting that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're over 1,100 subscribers now, and I can't thank you guys enough for tuning into all my videos. We'll catch you on the next update. Peace.